بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Wednesday, the 31st of August 2022, and in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 353. Today we'll start looking at the words of verse 104 of the second chapter Al-Baqarah of the Holy Quran. So this is the first part of our broadcasts in this series. These broadcasts are brought to you by LASER, Lahore Ahmadiyya School of Education in Religion, which is a branch of the Ahmadiyya Association for the Propagation of Islam. The Ahmadiyya movement was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh, who taught us that although other people bring a prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet explained that by saying, La Nabiya Badi, there is no prophet after me. So now, no prophet can come, whether an old prophet or a new one. When the Holy Prophet said this, his companions, radiallahu ta'ala, were somewhat concerned, and they said, O Prophet of Allah, when other people, other nations went astray, God sent prophets to guard them back. What will happen to the Muslims when they go astray? And the Holy Prophet said that God will raise reformers, mujaddideen, among Muslims. And many such people appeared, and Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh was one such person in that chain of reformers. He said that although other people bring different people and new prophets and so on, his distinction was that these were actual titles, the Messiah and Mahdi, and they applied to him. And he also taught Muslims that the first source of their knowledge should be the Holy Quran. Although other people put Hadith first, the first source of our knowledge should be the Holy Quran, then Sunnah, then Hadith, reliable Hadith, and then anything else, such as consensus of the community or use of reasoning and so on. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught that because of these differences, people are calling us kafirs. But the Holy Prophet has said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you are not a Muslim, then it's the person saying it who's not a Muslim. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught that although other people believe that some verses are missing from the Holy Quran, and some that are in the Holy Quran are abrogated, this is untrue. all prophetic revelation is in the Holy Quran, and nothing is abrogated because God said, I have revealed it and I will protect it. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim, but jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who, when returning from fighting, said Muslims are returning from Jihad-e-Asghar, the minor struggle, to Jihad-e-Akbar, the major struggle, and then went on to say that Jihad-e-Akbar, the major struggle, is Jihad bin Nafs, a struggle with your own desires and soul to control them. So with that, let's move to today's verse of the Holy Quran. This is the start of a new ruku, a new section. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la taqulu ra'ina wa qulu unzurna wasma'u walil kafirina azabun alim. O you who believe, say not ra'ina, say unzurna, and listen. And for the disbelievers, there is a painful chastisement. So today we look at the words Ya you, and then Allazina, and then Amanu. So let's go to my notes. So the first word, it's two sections, and noun and what's called prefixed particle. Ya. Oh. And ayyuha, that is a noun meaning you. Oh, you. Allazina, which is masculine plural pronoun. Who. Oh, you, who. And next we have Amanu. And its root is, it's in two segments, verb and pronoun. O you. Amanu, believe. O you who believe. And its root is Hamza Mim Noon, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 879 times in 17 different forms. 537 times as Amana, and 202 times as Mu'min, and 45 times as Iman, and next one is is, yes, 22 times as mu'minat and 20 times as amina and 14 times as amin and 10 times as aminin. So these are the different forms. So it basically means secure, you are secure, or I trust you, or believe, and so on. So if we look at the root itself, then it means not being afraid, being in a state of safety, being safe, and being satisfied. So elsewhere, further along, I think it's in Al-Baqarah, when it says, وَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, when you are in aman, when you are in a state of security, when you're in a state where you're not afraid. So generally people say that it is the opposite of mistrust, in the sense that you're not honest, you're trying to deceive people. It means, your heart is content, you're satisfied, and it means to affirm something. But amana actually means that it applies to someone else, because there are two things. You can be at peace yourself, your heart can be content, but amana means that you make someone else content, you give someone else the guarantee of peace, you accept the responsibility of guarding them and protecting them. So this is about others, that your character, your behavior is such that they trust you. And Mu'min is the person who guarantees this in such a way that other people depend on it, and they trust him to an extent that once he's given them a guarantee of security and peace, then they lose any fear, any kind of fear, and feel themselves safe. And amanat are things which are put in trust to other people. So when we say that a Muslim is ameen, what we mean is that someone who can be trusted, someone on whom you can depend. And there are many examples of this. Muslims had taken over a town, and they guaranteed to defend it in return for payment of call it defense tax, call it whatever you want to. But then when the town was attacked, Muslims found they were unable to defend it and provide security to the inhabitants of that town. So what did Muslims do? What do normal politicians do? They'll make some excuse, oh, well, when we signed this treaty, the wind was blowing from east and now the wind was blowing from the west. This treaty doesn't apply and this and that, so we are off, leaving you at the mercy of whoever these people are. They'll find any manner of excuse. And we see this day and night on television when I needn't name any particular politician. They're all colored in the same colors. Can you really depend? Name any politician in the whole world, regardless of his nationality or religion or sect or whatever. If he said something to you, will you say, well, Mr. X has said that, he's the president, he's the prime minister, so I'm happy now, I'm satisfied, I'm contented, I trust him? No, you wouldn't. But Muslims didn't make any excuse. They said, we are very sorry, the treaty said you'll pay us this much and we'll protect you. We can't. So, here is compensation. Here's your money back. And this is what led people to embrace Islam, and this is what led people to asking Muslims for protection. How did Islam arrive in Spain? A delegation from one Christian sect who lived in Spain went to Morocco and said to the Muslim governor there, I think his name was Musa, that we live in Spain and in our country, our co-religious, the religious oppress us and torture us and don't allow us to practice and preach our religion as we think right. But we understand that this doesn't happen in those lands where Muslims rule. Now there are two things here, you see. One, that Muslims did not coerce or force people to follow a particular religion or sect or whatever. But the second thing was the Christians who went from Spain to Morocco must have really believed that they could trust Muslims, not to coerce them, not to force them to embrace Islam. If they hadn't trusted them, why would they go and say to them, we've heard this? Could have been a lie. But then, think about this. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he announced to the people of Makkah that he was the prophet ordained by Allah, what did he say first? I've lived a life among you. Have I ever lied? Have I ever been dishonest? Have I ever usurped anyone's right? He put his own character forward as the truth of his claim. So if I haven't done these things for worldly benefit, what am I going to gain by claiming to be a prophet of Allah? It was his own character. And the other interesting thing is this. In those days, there weren't any banks and boxes in banks and all this kind of thing. So people would deposit their valuables with some trustworthy person. Despite the fact that the Quraysh were persecuting the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, and Nauzubillah, denouncing him and so on. And yet, they were putting their precious possessions in trust as an amanat with the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And the Holy Quran in, I think, chapter 36, verse 162 says, Inni lakum rasulun ameen. And I'm a Rasul Ameen for you. Someone who will take you to a place where you wouldn't need to fear anything and where you will become trustworthy and contented and unafraid. We talk about following the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In following his Sunnah, why don't we make ourselves ameen, trustworthy? Because without that, there cannot be world peace. Without that, there cannot be any treaties or negotiations. What did Margaret Thatcher say about Gorbachev, who died yesterday? She said, she rang President Reagan and said, I can do business with him. And Reagan said, why? She said, because I trust him. Although we disagree, although we are leaders of countries at loggerheads, but I can trust what he says. And it was because of this trust that the Cold War ended, that the nuclear disarmament treaty was signed. If Americans didn't trust the Russians or Russians didn't trust the Americans, why would they agree to dismantle their nuclear arsenals? In stages, obviously, but, one side would say, oh, they're pretending to get rid of their nuclear arsenal, but what they're doing is really taking atomic missiles somewhere else and hiding them. Trust is the basis of everything. Trust is the basis of national life. Trust is the basis of family life. If you don't trust your wife or your wife doesn't trust you, how will your family survive? How will you live? Forever you will be discontented. You won't be satisfied. You won't be content. You'll be discontented. And you'll be afraid of what might happen, etc. So I invite you. Asking you to act on the whole, in accordance with the whole of the Quran would be too much. So I invite you to just follow and try and obey one word of the Holy Quran, and that is, just like the Holy Prophet, be a mu'min, so that people can trust you. You're trustworthy. And once you've done that, you will see that you will need to conquer anywhere. Just like Christians of Spain, the non-Muslims would come to your lands and offer you a place in their hearts and in their countries. That is it for today. Inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow. But I must remind you to pray for people of Pakistan who are going through very hard times because of floods and the devastation that those floods have brought. Lots of people have lost their lives, I think about 1,200. In addition, people have lost crops and livestock and so on. So pray to God to ease their burden. And if you can, help them with money or time or support or whatever it is that you can do. But never let the thought, am I helping a Muslim? Am I helping a Hindu? Am I helping a Christian? Enter your head. God has done you a favor by giving you a chance to serve humanity. Take it with both hands. With that, Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.